This week in Flesh and Blood news, one of our heroes hits Living Legend status, the next set is delayed by a single day, and the banned and restricted announcement has finally hit. All that and more on today's episode. Ha ha ha! Pro Tour Lily wrapped up this week, and Matt DeMarco took home the Grand Champion prize, as well as sent one of our heroes into Living Legend status. Flesh and Blood's next release, Dynasty, was pushed back one day, which is kind of weird to me, but it's no longer coming out on August 30th, but now September 1st. That is fine by me because, well, I am really looking forward to this supplemental set, especially since there's going to be all sorts of goodies, hopefully for every single class, and with the advent of the new dual class reveal, one can only hope that there will be other dual classed cards, maybe even for your favorite character, located in this set, as a nice teaser. Who knows, it could be the most interesting combination of supplemental sets Flesh and Blood has ever released. We'll find out soon enough. Look forward to that one quite a bit. Vince, aka Pleasant Kenobi, was also present during the Pro Tour Lily, and I look forward to seeing his coverage of the event as well as his thoughts on how it compares to a MTG style of event. Also this week, we got our first spoiler of the new set, and it was none other than the Emperor himself. A dual-class hero. That's right, now Flesh and Blood has dual-class heroes. The possibilities are now endless. Literally. Why do they make this so goddamn complicated? Prism beat Briar in the finals in the 578-person Classic Constructed event, becoming the Calling 2022 Lily Champion, which also sent Prism into Living Legend status. She is now part of the Living Legend crew. Awesome. Michael Hamilton, who played Phi, defeated Christopher, who played Dromai, in the 261-person Uprising draft event, becoming the 2022 Battle-Hardened Lily Champion. Congrats, local Michael Hamilton. This week, another Reddit post came out containing an entire comprehensive lore document that contains pretty much every article and lore tidbit released by Flesh and Blood in one nice, concise, web-navigatable, well, for lack of a better word, template that is now available. I will link it in the description below. What's interesting about this is that this was actually something that I had thought would be interesting if the community would get behind and do, because if you started looking at some of the articles that Flesh and Blood posted on their website, it is kind of hard to navigate and dive in, as each hero has their own individual page, and inside of those pages there are sub-pages with articles that link other articles, which makes it really complicated to dive deep into the lore if you're not super familiar with where you're going. So this document is actually a well-received, in my opinion, great single source of truth, as long as all the information there needs to be verified. But looks great so far from what I can see, and congrats to that person for doing it. I really appreciate it. You've helped make my other channel, FAB Lore, a little bit easier for me to cover some of the lore topics now that I can leverage this asset to be able to kind of reference all the different lore pieces in one. I highly recommend you check it out yourself. Thanks everybody for tuning in for this week in Flesh and Blood News. Hopefully this has found you well. If you hit that like bell and subscribe button, hopefully the next week will come out with some more interesting news as we get approaching the new spoiler season. I'm sure we'll have plenty of interesting topics to cover. Until then, enjoy. Jacob signing out. Farewell. This week in Flesh and Blood News, a hero achieves Living Legend status, as well as all sorts of interesting things. No. Sometimes I can only describe my life to you in really weird ways. This week in Flesh and Blood News, a hero goes Living Legend, and, well, you'll have to stay tuned for the rest. So I was building a 3D printer,